It's the perfect American summer. Picture it: a lakefront house, kids laughing and splashing in the shallows, your dog leaping off the dock, that smell of fresh water that feels like pure freedom, sunlight dancing on the surface, barbecue smoke drifting across the lawn. This is what we work for all year, right? Now imagine this. 20 years from now, one of those people, maybe you, maybe your child, can no longer move their arms or their legs. They can't speak clearly. Eventually, they struggle to breathe on their own. But beneath this postcard-perfect beauty lies a silent assassin that doesn't strike today. It waits 10 years, 15, sometimes 30 years, quietly rewiring your brain, one misfolded protein at a time. It starts with something as innocent as blue-green algae blooming in your favorite lake, and it could end with a wheelchair, a ventilator, and a diagnosis that sounds like a death sentence. Welcome to the invisible neurological time bomb hiding in America's lakes. And the terrifying part? You might have already triggered the countdown. Let me tell you about a case that should have been statistically impossible. In a quiet lakeside town in New England, neurologists started noticing something deeply disturbing. Over several years, they documented a cluster of ALS cases, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. We're talking about rates 25 to 40 times higher than what you'd expect in the general population. Think about that for a second. If ALS normally affects about 2 inches 100,000 people, this town was seeing rates closer to 80 per 100,000. That's not just an anomaly, that's a red flag visible from space. These weren't random people scattered across the country. They all shared one thing: lives built around the same lake. A lake known for its chronic cyanobacterial blooms, those thick, pea soup green layers that local authorities kept warning people about every summer. This wasn't a virus outbreak. It wasn't a chemical spill from a factory. The doctors started to suspect something far more insidious: a biological Trojan horse, a neurotoxin being produced by the very organisms that have been on Earth for 3 billion years, cyanobacteria, commonly called blue-green algae. Hold that thought, we'll come back to close this loop later. First, you need to meet the ancient hunter that's learned a terrifying new trick. Cyanobacteria have been on this planet for roughly 3 billion years. They existed long before humans, before trees, before fish, before almost anything you can name. They survived every mass extinction, every climate shift, every catastrophe that wiped out countless other species. They're survivors, adapters, and in our modern, warmed, fertilizer-saturated lakes, they're learning a deadly new way to interact with us by producing neurotoxins. One of these toxins is called BMAA, beta-methylamino L-alanine. And BMAA is a master of molecular disguise. Here's how it works. Your brain builds proteins using amino acids, molecular building blocks that snap together like Lego pieces. One of these amino acids is called serine. Serine is everywhere in your brain, constantly being used to construct the proteins that keep your neurons functioning. BMAA looks almost exactly like serine. It's a molecular mimic, close enough that your cells can't tell the difference. So when your brain is building new proteins, it can accidentally grab BMAA instead of serine and weave it right into the protein structure. You've just built a time bomb into the architecture of your own brain. For years, maybe decades, those corrupted proteins sit there. Your neurons keep using them, keep building with them, and slowly, very slowly, things start to go wrong. Here's where this gets personal. You're at that lakefront house. It's been a great day swimming, fishing, maybe you grilled up some fresh-caught bass or perch. The fish tasted amazing. The kids are exhausted and happy. Life is good. But your body just made a catastrophic mistake. It thought BMAA was food. It threaded this molecular imposter into the very structure of your brain. From that moment, an invisible clock you can't see, can't hear, can't feel, starts ticking. Years later, it might look exactly like ALS, or Alzheimer's disease, or Parkinson's. A progressive neurological condition that seems to come from nowhere, with no clear cause. And nobody, not your doctors, not you, not your family, connects it back to that perfect summer at the lake. Remember this moment. We're going to close this loop soon, and when we do, you'll understand exactly why this is so terrifying. Let me show you how we created this problem. This is the One Health chain in action, the invisible web connecting environment, animals, and human health. Step 1. We fertilize the water. Every time we fertilize our lawns, every time rain washes over agricultural fields, nutrients, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, run off into storm drains, streams, and eventually lakes. Add in aging septic systems and wastewater treatment that can't remove all the nutrients, and you're basically feeding these ancient organisms a buffet. Step 2. We warm the incubator. Climate change isn't just about polar bears and rising seas. Warmer water temperatures create ideal conditions for cyanobacteria to explode in population, what scientists call blooms. That beautiful lake that used to stay clear until late August, now it's turning green by June. Step 3. The toxins enter the food chain. The cyanobacteria produce BMAA and other toxins. Small fish eat the algae. Larger fish eat the small fish. Bottom feeders, catfish, carp, and shellfish filter massive amounts of water, concentrating the toxins in their tissues. Birds eat the fish, and then we eat the fish. The shellfish, the crabs, the mussels, the clams, all the things we love most from our local waters. Step 4. You don't even have to touch the water. Here's the truly terrifying twist that recent research has uncovered. You don't need to swim in the water or eat contaminated fish to be exposed. Studies are now showing that toxins from harmful algal blooms can become airborne. When waves break, when wind blows across bloom-covered water, tiny aerosol droplets carry toxins into the air. You breathe them in while jogging along the waterfront, while sitting on your dock with morning coffee, while your kids play in the yard of your lake house. The very air near a blooming lake can carry neurotoxins directly into your lungs, and from there, potentially into your bloodstream and brain. Think about how many people live within a mile of an affected lake, how many vacation homes, how many popular state parks and recreation areas. We're talking about millions of exposures that people don't even know are happening. Remember when I said BMAA gets incorporated into your brain proteins? Here's what happens next. Those corrupted proteins don't work properly. They misfold. They aggregate, clump together in ways they're not supposed to. These protein clumps interfere with your neurons' cleanup systems, the cellular machinery that's supposed to remove damaged proteins and keep things running smoothly. In laboratory studies using cell cultures and animal models, this kind of protein damage produces something eerily familiar, the same tangled, misfolded protein deposits we see in ALS, Alzheimer's disease, and Parkinson's disease. We see the same types of neurons dying, the same inflammatory responses, the same progressive degeneration. The pathology looks almost identical. Now, does this prove that BMAA from cyanobacterial blooms causes ALS in humans? Not yet. Science requires decades of careful study to establish that level of causation. But the circumstantial evidence is building, and it's deeply unsettling. So let's go back to that New England lake town with impossible ALS rates. The residents lived there for decades. They swam in that lake every summer. They fished there. They ate their catch. Some had homes right on the water and spent every evening watching sunsets over blooms they thought were just algae. Epidemiologists studying the cluster found that long-term residents had ALS rates up to 25 to 40 times higher than expected. They suspected, though, couldn't definitively prove that chronic, years-long exposure to cyanobacterial toxins like BMAA was the culprit. The investigation is ongoing. The final proof may take decades. But here's what we know for certain. Something in that environment was causing a statistically impossible cluster of a devastating neurological disease. And to add a chilling historical precedent, this has happened before. On the island of Guam in the Pacific, researchers documented extraordinarily high rates of an ALS-like disease combined with Parkinson's symptoms and dementia rates, more than 100 times higher than anywhere else on Earth. After years of investigation, scientists traced a possible link to BMAA in the food chain specifically, through cycad seeds contaminated by cyanobacteria, which were eaten by fruit bats, which were then consumed by people as a delicacy. We've seen this pattern before, we just didn't recognize it was showing up in American lakes. Here's where we are right now, in 2026. Record-breaking temperatures. Florida water crisis. Headlines. Great Lakes bloom reaches historic levels. Satellite images showing massive green swirls across Lake Erie, throughout the Mississippi River watershed, in countless recreational lakes across the Midwest and South. Harmful algal blooms are no longer rare summer events. In many lakes and coastal areas, they're returning year after year, lasting longer, spreading wider, and occurring in places that never had problems before. Our favorite swimming holes, our vacation lake houses, our fishing spots, our waterfront parks where kids play. They're slowly, inexorably turning into neurological risk zones. And here's the worst part. The effects won't show up for 10, 20, or 30 years. The people swimming in contaminated lakes right now, the children playing in the water this summer, won't know if they've been affected until they're in their 30 seconds, 40 seconds, or 50 seconds. We're conducting an uncontrolled experiment on ourselves, and we won't know the results for decades. Can we stop the clock once BMAA is incorporated into your brain proteins? Not yet. Medical science doesn't have a treatment for this. We can't reverse the misfolded proteins. We can't undo the damage. But we can avoid walking into the trap in the first place. Here are your very simple, potentially life-saving rules. 1. Check local water quality advisories before swimming or fishing. Every state has a health department website with current bloom warnings. Use it. 2. If the water looks like green paint, pea soup, or has thick floating mats of algae, stay out. Don't swim. Don't let your dog swim. Don't water ski. This isn't being paranoid, this is being smart. 3. Avoid eating fish or shellfish from waters with active or recent blooms, especially if there are official consumption advisories. This particularly applies to bottom feeders and filter feeders that concentrate toxins. 4. If you live near an affected lake, consider HEPA air filters for your home and keep windows closed during heavy bloom periods. 5. Support real solutions at the community level. Less fertilizer on lawns, you don't need that much nitrogen. Better wastewater treatment, stronger monitoring, and early warning systems for blooms. These aren't just environmental issues, they're public health crises in slow motion. The most beautiful view from your window might be the most dangerous, especially if that view turns neon green every summer. That's not just algae. That's not just a nuisance. That's a 3 billion-year-old organism that's figured out how to weaponize our own biology against us, using molecules we can't see to build time bombs we can't detect until it's too late. Here's my question for you. Do you live near a lake that turns green every summer? Do you fish there? Do your kids swim there? Drop your location in the comments. Let's build a real-time risk map together. Let's see just how widespread this problem really is. Subscribe to One Health Detective because next time we're investigating the deadly salad, how a snake, a commercial farm, and a bag of pre-washed greens triggered a multi-state E. coli outbreak. Stay sharp, stay safe, and maybe think twice before that next lake vacation.